One.
Good evening and welcome to the virtual community meeting on updates for the South Main Street Corridor project from the City of Santa Ana Public Works, plus an update on the 2 parking lots on South Main Street. We truly appreciate you making the time to attend the meeting tonight. My name is Michelle McAuliffe with the City of Santa Ana Public Works. Before we start the presentation, Alyssa from our Neighborhood Initiative team will review the ways you can participate and ask questions during the meeting. Alyssa?
Hi, everyone. So there are a couple of ways to participate during the meeting. So during the meeting, you'll be able to raise your hand if you want to make a comment or if you want any of the organizers' attention. So use the raise your hand feature that is highlighted red down here. So it should be on the bottom of your screen. Another option is if you have a question during the presentation, you can type it in the Q&A box, which is highlighted right here. So type it in if you have any questions and we'll look through them throughout the presentation. So feel free to ask, or if you want to ask it personally, raise your hand and we'll unmute you and let you speak. And then for those of you that are dialing in, there are ways for you to raise your hand. You will dial *9 to raise your hand. And then once we call on you and we unmute you to speak, dial *6. So those are the instructions for those of you that are dialing in. We have seen a couple of you that did dial in. So *9 to raise your hand and then dial *6 to unmute yourself once we ask you to speak.
Michelle?
We also,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alyssa. Sorry, I thought you were done.
We also have interpretation in Spanish. So if you have the Zoom, if you're using the Zoom app, you'll see this little globe feature and you'll be able to click on that and then click on the language that you would like to hear. And the only language we're offering tonight is Spanish. So we're also offering interpretation, and that's the way to access the interpretation is accessing clicking on the little globe and then clicking on the Spanish for language. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Margarita, do you have a question for me?
Oh, I just wanted to acknowledge that our mayor, Vicente Sarmiento, has joined us.
Welcome, Mayor. Thank you.
Welcome. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
Good. I'll wait my turn. Go ahead. Continue.
Thank you.
I also, Michelle, I also wanted to acknowledge one of our council members, Ty Viet Phan, is on the call as well.
Excellent. Hi, Ty. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me and for doing this. I'm really excited.
We are too. Thank you again. This is Michelle McAuliffe again, and we want you to know that your questions and your observations about the project are very important to us. This meeting is all about you and providing you information on the project, so please ask questions tonight. We have a number of city staff participating in the meeting tonight that I want to introduce to you now. So when I call your name, if you'll wave. From our Neighborhood Initiative team, Alyssa Ventura, Narcy Perez, Margarita Macedonio. From Planning and Building, Melanie McCann.
Good. Hello.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi.
From Community Development, Julie Castro Cardenas.
Hello.
And Sylvia Vasquez.
Hi, everyone.
From the Public Works Agency, Engineers Gilbert Castillo, Armando Fernandez, Brian Ige, Sean Thomas, Jason Gabriel, our city engineer, William Galvez, and our executive director, Nabil Saba. Also with the Public Works team tonight is the consultant for the Main Street project, Darren Adrian. And with us, our professional Spanish translator, Nilda Anaya, who happens to be a Santa Ana resident. And we're, of course, honored to have the Mayor Sarmiento and Councilmember Tai attending the meeting tonight. Margarita, did I miss anyone?
I think you got everything, everybody in terms of the city staff and city representation.
If I did, I apologize. Please raise your hand if we did miss you. If you're with the city. Before we start our presentation, Nabil Saba, our Public Works Executive Director, has a few words he wants to share with us. Nabil?
Hold on, Nabil.
Thank you, Michelle, and good evening, everyone. My name is Nabil Saba. I am the Executive Director of Public Works Agency for the City of Santa Ana. I'd like to welcome you to the South Main Street Corridor Project Community Update. We have a great group of engineers from the city that is here at your disposal for questions and for them to answer those questions on the project. The project is really a public infrastructure project for the improvement of the South Main Street, ranging or spanning from First Street all the way to I think Dyer Road or so. The project, the presentation will include a history on the project itself. We also will talk to you a little bit about the stakeholders and the community outreach that we have done so far and the project area. And also we will talk about the improvements in detail and the construction schedule. I hope that you find this presentation of value to you. We encourage you to ask questions, and if you have any concerns, please let us know. With that, I would also like to welcome Mayor Sarmiento and Council Member Tai Viet Phan to the meeting. And with that, I would like to invite Mayor Sarmiento to give us a couple of words here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabil, and good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is well and everybody is safe. And first of all, let me just thank you all for joining in as members of the public. This is really for you. This is for the community to provide, valuable input, for the staff as to what you'd like to see. So that really is the value of this. And although we're living in a time where we can't be physically present, I think this is about as good as we can get. And sometimes it's sometimes even better because we are able to join these meetings virtually, and other times there's commute times and traffic and other things that impede us. But hopefully this is going to be as helpful and as robust as we possibly can make it. So thank you to staff, thank you to the Public Works team. I know that they're they've got their hands full with a lot of things throughout the city, but I had the privilege of representing South Main during my 3 terms as council member, and I know Councilwoman Phan is as excited as I was when I was a young councilman, seeing the value of South Main. It really is a special corridor in the city. It is Main Street, in our downtown. In not only actually Main Street, but it also does mean, sort of that, in the classic sense, where you have a lot of businesses, you have some very beautiful architecture along South Main, which is Art Deco, and it goes back to the 40s and 50s. And it really was a place where a lot of commerce was done historically. And I know when we looked at South Main, we were looking at how we could make just, first of all, basic improvements to the infrastructure to make sure that it could develop and continue to grow and provide a great environment and space for people. And so we realize that before we can even get into planning and get into other issues like that, the infrastructure really is the fundamental need that any space will depend on. So this, the funds here came by way historically of a lawsuit that occurred many, many years ago called the Peebler lawsuit that happened when, Santa Ana and many other communities throughout the state had redevelopment dollars, and that went away. But what happened here is those monies were stored and were kept so they could be spent in this area. So they are covenant and restricted by the settlement that those funds have to be spent here, which is a good thing. Rather than being dispersed throughout the city, there was obviously some foresight that there was going to be a need here, and there certainly is, because there is a vision and there is some documents that have been prepared throughout the years. There's been different concepts, but I think now we're at a point where we really want to hear, and that's where I applaud the public works staff and the city staff, is that we really want to listen. I mean, we want to, as much as they're going to be presenting conceptuals and ideas and plans, they want to hear from you, members of the public, to say, this is what we'd like to see. This is what's important to us. This is our community. We've lived here, and these things are vital to us. So I think we all really do want to listen, and I know that they are going to talk about how we can make that corridor not only aesthetically pleasing but also safe. We've seen that there have been, unfortunately, a lot of pedestrian fatalities and accidents, and we don't want that. We have a city that's very walkable. We have a city where a lot of people ride their bikes, use public transportation, and that's what we want, but we want it done in a safe way, and we think we can continue to do that here as well as in other places in the city. So as you may all know, we have a special council meeting tonight, so I know I won't be able to stay very long, but I just wanted to provide just a few words of sort of historical context and background, and just really to thank you and welcome you for having your voices heard tonight. It's extremely important to to the staff to hear from you, and we are very excited that this is going to be one of the things when we start lifting the pandemic that we can all agree on, that is going to be a beautiful, beautiful space in addition to the many others in the city. But this is one that I think all of us have been long waiting for to see start improving. So with your help, we're going to do that. So I'm not sure if Councilwoman Fan, did you have any words you'd like to share with the staff and the public?
I just wanted to say, first I echo everything you've said about South Main. I actually have really fond memories of getting my first car fixed off South Main. So it's a special place in my heart, but I'm really interested in seeing how this project develops. And I hope that for those of you who have friends and family and neighbors who couldn't make it, they can email staff, let us know, reach out to one of us, because we want to make sure as many voices are heard as possible. And with that, I probably will hop off soon for the special meeting, but I hope you have a great one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm going to turn it back to Nabil Saban. Nomás quería decir en español para todos que están escuchando que les agradecemos su participación. Todo esto va a ser traducido en español para que ustedes puedan entender, escuchar y opinar. Y es bien importante que más que nada el personal de la ciudad escuchen de ustedes sus comentarios, sus ideas, sus preocupaciones. Es el momento, no va a ser el último momento, pero es un momento importante. Entonces, con eso yo me despido. Que pasen buenas noches y que ojalá cuídense mucho. So I'll be signing off as well, Mr. Saban. Let you and your team go forward. Be safe and have a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council Member Ty Fan. Now I will turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you, Nabil. Before our presentation on the South Main Street Corridor project, Julie Castro Cardenas has an update on the 2 parking lots on South Main Street. Julie, what's the latest on the parking lots?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the 2 surface parking lots along South Main Street. The first parking lot, it's a public parking lot, is located on Main and Pine. And the second parking lot is on Main and very close to McFadden, between Cubbon and McFadden. And I wanted to let you know that we have done, with the great assistance of Public Works, the sidewalks have been power washed at the Main and Pine location. The trees are being inspected to see if we can prune them and trim them a little bit more so that it provides more of a transparent view. The monument, the parking monument, has also been replaced and the graffiti has been removed, as well as another post with signs have been replaced because it's been a while since that has been maintained. And graffiti, of course, is something that we deal with in our city and our reality. The parking lot that's closer to the Northgate Market on Main and McFadden, we're looking into that parking lot to see if we can lease it to the business owners within that area so that the business owners can take on the responsibility of maintaining and reserving it for their business or their employee parking needs. This will also help with the lighting opportunity and having, you know, designated employers or businesses that would take on the responsibility of leasing that space. But we do have to go through a Surplus Land Act process in order to accomplish those goals. Ultimately, we want to preserve those parking spaces for general public use because we know that there's a need. Other than that, Michelle, you know, I wanted to respond and give an update on those parking lots because of the previous meeting that we had on South Main and some of the concerns that arose from that meeting. And so based on the feedback from the residents and the public, we were able to mitigate some of those concerns and make those spaces a little bit better. But thank you for the opportunity. I'm open for questions. Otherwise, that concludes my update.
Thank you, Julie. We had a comment from Poncha, just to say, thank you, Julie. The lots are looking much better.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for Public Works' help. They're the ones that took care of that.
Hi, Michelle. This is Margarita. I just wanted to share that we received a message on the chat from Ben Mendoza regarding his comments. What is being done to address the graffiti and homeless problem along South Main Street? I know this corridor project update is showing the future South Main Street and how to help bicyclists and pedestrians, but what about current issues, especially the graffiti and homeless? So Ben, thanks so much for that question. We actually, the previous meeting we had with the South Main neighborhood leaders entailed a discussion with our police department and our homeless services manager. And one quick way to have the graffiti removed is using the My Santa Ana app. We will have an opportunity later on the agenda to recap how to report those current issues, including homeless encampments that you're seeing in hotspot areas along South Main. But we are asking neighbors to use the My Santa Ana tool to report those issues. Thank you.
Marie, did you see the other comment from Thomas on the question and answers?
Oh, let me look at that. Thank you, Michelle. Oh, yes. So Thomas Gordon responded that we have the strongest, so Thomas Gordon is just asking, why don't we enforce the graffiti ordinance that we currently have? So that's something that we can discuss with our Public Works and how that's being enforced. Thomas, thank you so much. And then Carla asked a question regarding if this meeting is being recorded and shared. So just so everyone knows, all of the Zoom neighborhood meetings are recorded, and we upload the recordings onto the city's YouTube channel under neighborhood virtual meetings. So you'll be able to find the recording tonight, Carla and anyone else who is interested, who wants to be able to share the link with others. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Margarita. Now our Public Works Senior Civil Engineer and the Project Manager, Sean Thomas, is excited to share the details for the improvements on the roadway and sidewalks that are planned for South Main Street Corridor Project.
Michelle, before you move forward, it looks like there's a hand raised.
Oh.
Erica Gonzalez. If you want me to unmute her, I can do that.
Do you see it, Margarita? I don't see it on my.
Yeah, let me let's see, Erica.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, Erica. Hi, Erica.
Yes, hi. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Congratulations, Julie, on your position. I'm really happy to see someone from Santana being the liaison for the city with Downtown Inc. My concern as a small business owner on Main Street, what exactly do you mean when you say that the business owners are going to be responsible for these parking lots? Parking is a great issue in our city. Those parking lots really are not that big to support the amount of small businesses that are in that area. So I'm wondering, you know, who gets priority, what's going to be the process, what's going to be the cost? Because I know in downtown, those parking structures are operated by Downtown Inc. So my fear is if we try to keep them public, is it because we are going to have to enforce a bid now on the South Main corridor? Because I really don't want to see a bid like the bid that's in downtown Santa Ana on that Main Street corridor. So I would like a little bit more information regarding that. I really don't see that being the best option, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give the business side perspective.
Thank you for that, Erica. Thank you very much. Yes, so there's a couple of businesses on the corner of Main and McFadden. There's like a beauty spa, and then there's like the little, I want to say it was a Pizza Hut back in the day, but I don't know what's exactly there now in that corner on McFadden and Main. And then there's also a Northgate Market. Those businesses have expressed interest in leasing the public parking space. The city only owns a really small fraction. I want to say it's about a dozen parking spaces there. And then the rest of the parking lot belongs to Northgate. And so their interest is to lease that about 10 or 12 parking spaces because they want to use it for their employees to park there during the daytime. And then a smaller amount of employees in the evening for the inventory of the grocery store. So in order for the city to lease that parking space or that parking lot, we would have to go through the Surplus Land Act. And that's a pretty strenuous and lengthy process. You know, there's a couple of layers that we would have to go through. We can't just lease it right away to the business community. We would have to offer it and make it fair and equitable to multiple parties, housing, nonprofits, education, that sort of, and then if there's no interest from those groups, then we would have to go out to the community. I just wanted to clarify something for you, Erica. The parking garages in the downtown, although this meeting doesn't have anything to do with downtown, are not operated by Downtown Inc. They're actually operated by the city, and we subcontract the daily operations to SP Plus. SP Plus is in charge of tallying the tickets, collecting the revenue, maintaining, removing graffiti, making upgrades or updates. And, you know, whatever it costs to manage those parking garages, they pay upfront. And then any revenue that's made is deposited back into the city. The parking revenue in the downtown pays for the clean and safe staff. So those are the folks that you see on the sidewalks cleaning, taking out the trash, and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to clarify that for you, Erica, and I would love the opportunity to sit down and grab a cup of coffee when things open up again and have a good conversation, because I've heard from you a couple of times. I'm very interested in working with you, and thank you for the kudos on the position. I've been in this role for about 2 years, and I truly enjoy working with the business community. I think I answered your questions unless I missed something.
Hi,
Otherwise,
Julie,
I can turn it back over to Margarita and Michelle.
So Julie, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say, Julie, we have a question from Janelle. Can we lease the, I guess, is it Cuban lot? Let's see, Margarita.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So Janelle is asking the question about the leasing to the businesses, the parking lot at Cubbon Street, how it'll be a conflict of interest. How can it then be for public parking? Because her sense is that, you know, the businesses are going to take over that parking lot. And so don't let Cubbon lot become leased by the businesses. So it's sort of, you know, Janelle's perspective. And she also feels like the pink food truck that's there will also take over that parking lot as well.
Okay, thank you. I absolutely, all feedback is welcome and considered.
I just, this is Margarita again. So we have our Public Works maintenance division, Pedro Guillen. He just sent us an email about Public Works abating graffiti. The enforcement comes from the Santa Ana Police Department in terms of arresting any offenders who are caught doing graffiti where they have enough evidence. And that our public planning and building agency, code enforcement, specifically enforces the Santa Ana Municipal Code violations that have to deal with graffiti because of the lack of maintenance by property owners. So that is how graffiti is enforced in the city. We just wanted to clarify that for our listeners. Thank you, Mr. Guillen. Okay, Michelle, I think we're back to you.
Okay, well, let's go back to Sean Thomas and the updates on the South Main Street Corridor project. Sean?
All right, thank you, Michelle. Can everyone see the presentation screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Thomas from the Public Works Agency, and I'm here today to give you an update on this long-awaited project, the South Main Corridor Improvements. Since translation services are occurring during this meeting, I will try to speak slowly to ensure that everyone receives the information clearly. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation, and the panel will do our best to answer them. Back in 2014, as a result of a legal settlement between the city's former redevelopment agency and Scott Peebler, the city set aside $4.7 million for the public improvements within the South Main Corridor. The availability of these funds led to the development of the vision plan so that the investment could be well thought out and maximized. Since then, the city has secured and infused several other funding sources to make this project as complete as possible. The total project funds now exceed $18 million, all dedicated to street, roadway, and utility improvements within the existing street limits. And just to be clear, we are not widening the roadway, acquiring property, or performing any development activities with this project. Michelle, are there any questions?
We have no questions. You can continue, Sean, please.
Thank you. So before we get into the project, it is important to mention the project stakeholders. First and foremost, our community residents and business owners. It is why we are here and why we do these projects, to serve you. It is important to recognize the elected officials. Without their leadership, none of this would have materialized, especially Mayor Sarmiento, who has always championed great projects. The UCI School of Law participated in the initial planning, and of course, citywide staff participation from the City Manager's Office, Community Development Agency, Planning and Building Agency, and Public Works Agency, where I'm from. Over the years, there has been extensive community outreach related to this project, starting with an initial community survey, followed by multiple community meetings. And the last big one was held last year in February of 2020 at Manuel Escueda School. And of course, today, we're here today to update the project. Project construction updates will continue to be communicated via social media and other outlets, including the Public Works website. And of course, you can always contact Michelle McAuliffe, our Public Works liaison, with any questions or concerns.
Marie, did you see anything in the Q&A?
Yes, just, I think Janelle was just clarifying, like, you know, why she's emphasizing the parking lot, back to the parking lot on South Main and Coven. It's because it's in her neighborhood, the Henninger Park neighborhood. She just was clarifying that. Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you. You can continue, Sean.
Okay, let's dive into the project now. So the original project for the South Main corridor was from Warner on the south to First Street on the north, spanning a distance of 2 miles. We are adding a pavement rehabilitation project on Main Street from Dyer to Warner to be packaged with this project, making the overall project now span over 2.5 miles. This is a unique project because it touches so many different neighborhood associations. Pacific Park neighborhood, which formerly was East Side neighborhood, Henninger Park, Madison Park, Wilshire Square, Memorial Park, and Delhi neighborhoods. Although there will be improvements throughout the entire corridor, the majority of the aesthetic enhancements will be made in the 2 focus areas. The North Focus area, which is from First to Chestnut Avenue, and the South Focus area from Stanford Street to St. Andrew. These focus areas were established during the vision planning stages with community input. They are meant to be a testing ground for the rest of the corridor, and it can eventually be extended throughout the corridor if it is the community's desire and there is funding available. So the vision plan prescribed physical improvements for the corridor in various categories. These categories are transit improvements, pedestrian lighting, street furniture, landscaping, cultural and identity, and pedestrian safety. So the project will deliver several improvements to the overall corridor. Improved landscaping with additional street trees, delineated parking spaces to organize parking on the street better, curb ramps and ADA upgrades, miscellaneous concrete improvements like replacing broken curb or sidewalk, median enhancements, and repaving the entire stretch of the roadway. Since our last meeting, we listened to input and we were able to find additional funding to do the following. Extend the decorative lighting originally only being implemented in the focus areas. We're now able to extend that decorative lighting throughout the entire corridor. With this project, we're going to update the bus shelters throughout the corridor as well. We will be relocating the existing bus shelters to another part of the city and implementing new ones similar to what you see on this slide. And in an effort to only dig up the street once, we will be replacing the aging sewer system. We'll also evaluate the water system during construction and we'll replace that as necessary. Additionally, Community Development Agency is also using project funding to work with local community artists to paint several signal cabinets throughout the corridor. All of this is an effort to provide the community with a complete project.
We do have a question.
Okay.
Margarita, is this something
It looks like this is regarding the city parking lots. So Janelle was clarifying that both of them are in the Henninger Park neighborhood. That's all. Thank you, Janelle.
Sean, you can continue.
Thank you. So for the focus area improvements, there will be sidewalk extensions, which we often refer to as bulb outs. And these are meant to slow down vehicles at intersections and increase pedestrian safety by narrowing the crossings. The focus areas will also have decorative concrete intersections, monument signage to really identify the historic South Main corridor, as well as pedestrian lighting. Since our last community meeting, in an effort to further enhance the focus areas, we added the following: string lighting that will zigzag across the street, decorative signposts, and we'll be painting all the traffic signals black to give it a really unique look.
Sean, we do have a question from Christina Garcia. Are there exact locations for where the existing bus shelters will go in the city after being replaced by the new ones?
Yes, right now those are identified to be implemented on Sunflower Avenue. I don't have the exact limits with me, but if you reach out to me after this meeting, I can give you some more details on exactly where they're planned to be put.
Okay, thank you. Margarita, is that
questions?
Gillard?
We have one other question from Gillette Salmon. Will the bulb outs be extended across Main Street? Seems like they're not. Seems like they're not. Yeah.
They will be extended at all wherever the crossings are. So in some cases there will be, if there's a crossing that goes across Main Street. A lot of times the crossings are just on the side streets, and that's where the bulb outs are. So those bulb outs, it's always meant to shorten the crossing. So wherever there's a crossing, that's where the bulb out will be if it's a bulb out intersection.
And Sean, we have a question from an anonymous attendee.
Okay.
Are schools going to be affected by the project, such as the school there on Warner and Main, and then further up north of there?
I don't see the schools being affected by the project. In fact, these projects are meant to make it even safer for children walking to and from school. So overall, I mean, it's only going to be a positive benefit, if anything.
I don't know if they're referring to the traffic control plan or any impacts of getting in and out of the school.
Oh, if it's related to traffic, I mean, with every construction project, there is going to be some construction, some delays and traffic impacts, but we'll always maintain access to all businesses and schools, and at least one lane in each direction will be maintained. So maybe a little slower, but access will still be maintained.
So Michelle, I wanted to just clarify Gillette Salmon's response regarding the curb extensions. He says, yes, they shortened the crossing, but it looks like the curb extension doesn't go across Main in the photo that was showed. So that's...
Sean, can you go back and review that?
Let me see. Yes, so in this particular case, you're right, it is not bulbing out across Main Street. There's probably limitations based on the current width of the street. And as I said, we're not widening the roadway. So wherever we have the space, we try to bulb out to reduce the crossing. So yes, you are correct. In this case, we are not bulbing out across the intersection.
Thank you. We have a couple more questions. One from Rolly. Who will cover the maintenance fee of the improvements of the roadway, the sidewalk?
So the maintenance, our Public Works maintenance team will be providing the maintenance. The maintenance is going to be pretty similar to what's already required out there, where just a little bit more landscaping will have to be maintained.
Michelle, Michelle, I just wanted to acknowledge Carla Juarez, who's been raising her hand for a while.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry, Carla.
I'd like to allow
Thank
Carla
you.
just the time so she can ask her question. And then we'll go into the chat where we had some other questions.
Thank you, Margarita.
Sure. Go ahead, Carla.
Thank you. In regards to the bus shelters, like the benches, is this something that the OCTA could cover, like for them to pay, since it is for the bus stops, and that money could be used for something beneficial other than their bus stops?
So the money for the bus shelters, it's something that we already are getting money from OCTA for other portions of the city, and I think we've maxed out that allocation for this year. In comparison to this entire project, the actual bus shelter relocations and these new bus shelters are really a minor cost, and we are not taking that actually from the Peebler money. It's actually coming from another funding source, an enterprise fund that was dedicated for transit improvements. So I can assure you that by putting these bus shelters in, we weren't taking away any other improvements that potentially could have been implemented.
Okay, thank you, Carla. So we're going back to the Q&A section. Tanya is asking if there will be any residential demolition to create more space for these area improvements. I think you mentioned that at the beginning, Sean,
yeah.
but maybe it'd be
yeah,
good to
I can
clarify.
just to remind everyone, there will not be any acquisition, any demolition of any private property to implement these improvements. Everything is happening within the city right away.
Okay, and we have Irma Hadagi that has two questions. One is, will the Main Street historic sign get refreshed, painting, lighting fixes around there? The observation that Irma has is that the painting, of the faded blue into black would be much better to match the lamp posts.
Absolutely. So we are going to refurbish that sign, meaning we're going to paint it black, just like you're suggesting. That's already part of these plans. We're also going to make sure all the lighting is refreshed and working. So it'll look a lot better than it does right now. Okay,
so Michelle, there's still more questions regarding what Sean Thomas has just presented. So Ben Mendoza is asking if there are any plans for safety phones or emergency phones at his campus at UCSB. There's emergency phones so that people who are out late, they have a way to get assistance, in the case of an emergency. And from his experience, having his business closed late at night, it's pretty dark and scary. So any response to that, Sean?
I think that's a great suggestion. That's not part of this current plan, but that can definitely be a future project. So I think that's a great suggestion, and maybe at some time in the future we can implement something like that. So we'll look into that.
Thank you, Sean. We also have Sandra Pochapena asking or sharing her comment regarding the design of the street signs, the benches, the monuments, how it's pretty bland. If the routes, car culture and Americana style will be reflected into the design elements, how can we ensure the design is retro? And if we will be working with the Arts and Culture Commission or the HRC Commission to be consulted for some elements that are historically inspired and are able to be reflected in the design. And there's just some more comments about, with public space being such a scarcity, we should not be putting them up for grabs. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. So making them into a parklet or a food truck porridge. It's a bad idea to bid it out to one entity. So that must have been, a little bit earlier too, based on, I think, Julie's update. So anyway, Sean, do you have any response to that in terms of the historic inspired design elements?
Yeah, I just want to mention that the signs and everything that was where it is right now was based on previous input that we received. It does not mean that it still can't change. I mean, we are pretty advanced and we're about to go to construction, but nothing's impossible. So feel free to, you'll see my contact information at the end of this meeting. Feel free to reach out to me. We can see what we can do to, you know, further refine the monument design and see if we can make it happen.
Okay. See, so I just wanted to also read Andres Guillen's comment. I heard you mention designated parking spots. Will the designated parking spots have meters similar to downtown to avoid cars from parking there overnight or for long periods of time?
So the plan is going to be, if there's, you know, if there's a meter now, though there will be a meter after this project. But if there aren't any meters, there won't be any meters implemented with this project. So it's going to closely mimic what's out there right now, just a little bit more organized with some striping on the street to, you know, so cars can, you know, fit within the spaces like hash marks or tick marks.
Okay. And Maria Rubalcaba has a question on how will you ensure that small businesses are not economically impacted by the construction that might be done right outside their door? And if you can clarify, Sean, how long will the construction period last?
So I have a slide for that, but pretty much, you know, yeah. So maybe we can talk about that then. So I won't be repeating myself. It's coming up pretty soon.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll stop at that slide to make sure I answer all the construction related questions.
Thank you. And then this was just more of an opinion from Raleigh about the bus shelters. It's just a matter of time for homeless people to take over. And then Irma Hadigi, thanks you for the response regarding the archway, Sean. Let's see. And then we have somebody who raised their hand. The last four numbers end with 9307. Go ahead and ask your question, caller, with the last four digits, 9307. Go ahead.
Maybe we remind them they had to push *6, I believe.
Yeah, they're there. They just, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to know when the project started and where does it start, the beginning, the first phase, from what point to what point?
So the project, you know, it spans from First Street to Dyer, and it, you know, there's utilities that are going to happen first. We have not awarded the construction contract, so we don't have a specific phasing yet determined. So I'm not able to give you an answer for that right now because we're not sure. We have to talk to the contractor and come up with a plan on how to phase. We will be coming out to the community right after a contract is awarded, and with that information. So you will have that towards the end of February, right when we were getting started. So,
so once the award given, how long before the project starts?
So my future slide will kind of go over that, but basically, you know, we plan to award in a few days on January 19th, and construction should begin in February.
I see.
So,
okay. Well,
so Sean will be able to cover more on the construction slide. It's forthcoming, that information. Sean and Michelle, I just wanted to recap so that you can continue your presentation, Sean.
Okay.
Just a couple of more comments regarding the historic design. So Allison Young is sharing that she agrees that a more historic design of benches, signs, etc. is important, that we need to establish the importance of history to the city's identity. And Sandra Pochapinga was just reminding us that the community was very consistent over the past 10 years of meetings that we wanted historical retro Americana branding. This was mentioned at every meeting. And then we have Marvin Maldonado also sharing or asking if security cameras are already in place in these areas, and if not, if that could be added to the project, whether it's at this time or in the future, Sean.
Yeah, thank you for those questions and comments. Yeah, as far as the security camera, unfortunately, they're not part of this project, but that doesn't preclude it from being added, in the future, in some future phase. So that's definitely something that we can look into. And as far as the signs, I know the signs have changed from, even from the last meeting to now, to make it more of a historic look. I mean, it even says historic South Main on it, but it sounds like there are some more refinements that could be done. So please reach out to me, send me some ideas of what you want to see out there, and we can see if we can get that implemented during construction.
Okay, so Michelle, if it's fine, maybe we can continue. And to some of the other questions, folks who have other questions, we'll get back to that. I think that way, Sean, you can address like the construction, and then with some of the other questions, we'll have another opportunity if that's okay.
Sure.
I just want to assure everyone that's, sending in questions that we will address your question, because I know Carla has a question there, and possibly Celia from Community Development can respond to that. So Sean, if you want to go ahead and continue, please.
Okay. All right, so we have the construction update now. So, okay, so we're finally almost here. The construction contract set to be awarded at the January 19th, 2021 council meeting, with the construction to begin sometime in February 2021 and end about 1 year later. So towards the end of February, as I mentioned already, we will have another community meeting to update the construction status. And during construction, I want to repeat that 1 lane in each direction and access to businesses will be maintained at all times. Now, construction is never easy, especially with the magnitude of this project. You have to expect some inconvenience. However, we as a city will do our best to minimize the hardship as much as possible. Prior to construction, we will pass out a construction flyer to everyone within the corridor. These flyers will contain contact information to our construction management team, as well as the project inspectors, so that you will always have someone to contact in case construction issues arise. So if anyone has any more questions about construction, I'd be happy to answer it right now. Or any other question.
So there was, Sean, I'm just going back to the list of the Q&A in the Q&A box. And I think just to clarify, so you said that private areas are not going to be affected, but what about public areas? And that's what you've been clarifying, right? You're talking about the corridor, the right-of-way area. That's the public area.
Right, the public area is from the back of the sidewalk, generally from the back of the sidewalk on one side of the street to the back of the sidewalk on the other side of the street.
Margarita, do you want to take the hands that are raised?
Yes, let's see. Just wanted to, Ben Mendoza, will my business have its driveway blocked at any time during construction? I only have one driveway in and out of Main Street.
So we will make sure that during construction, access to your driveway will be maintained at all times. So the way that we do that sometimes is by, only working on half of the driveway at a time, making sure there's access to it, so that businesses don't get, severely affected. That's kind of our standing policy, and we'll make sure we coordinate very closely with all the businesses, and it's in our contract documents that the contractor has to maintain access at all times, no matter what.
So that won't be an issue, Ben. Thank you for your question. We're going to go to the hands raised. So I have Vivian Martinez. Go ahead, Vivian.
Good evening, I'm Vivian. Thanks for your presentation and all the ins and outs. It's really helpful to understand. So my question is about the Warner widening and how we connect with the corridor Main Street when we intersect, also all the way down to Dyer, from Delhi side to the Main Street connection to Dyer with the program. If I could get a little bit of input on that.
Yeah, so the Warner widening project, as you guys know, it's been going on for just as long, if not longer than the Main Street project. And these projects are definitely coordinated with each other. And they're both actually going to be constructed relatively around the same time. But I do want to assure you that we are coordinating not only the on the surface improvements, but also the utility improvements, so that they can all work seamlessly with each other. It's going to most likely be a different contractor, and it's also a different project manager. It's Kenny Nguyen, who's the project manager for that, for the Warner project. So, but if you have any questions, you can reach out to either of us. You can always reach out to me, even if it's for Warner, I can get you to the right person to answer your questions. But just in summary, both of the projects are going to be coordinated with each other. They have been coordinated with each other. So we should be all good with that.
So, Sean, I just wanted to just clarify. So in terms of the improvements right now that are on the South Main corridor, are there any other improvements that are going to go further south from Warner to Dyer?
Yes, there's a pavement rehabilitation from Warner to Dyer.
And then what about the decorative lighting? Like, will that also apply further south of Warner to Dyer?
No, that's okay. That's just from Warner to First Street.
Okay, just because there are two projects there, as you mentioned. Okay, so thank you, Sean. We're now going to go to Erica Gonzalez. Erica, go ahead, Erica. You should be able to.
Yes, hi. Okay, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just had a question. You were saying that when the construction begins, you're going to be notifying businesses and residents, but I'd like to know what the prerequisites are, because I've asked you guys this before, but you guys don't give me a straight answer. So within how many feet of the construction area will you be notifying residents, and how much in advance will you be giving that notice?
Michelle, do you know what the typical, how many, the envelope of the distribution is for construction flyers?
At minimum, at least, 2 miles, but we certainly can make it citywide in regards to Nixle, Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter, details on the construction. But for hand-delivered flyers, it would be within 2 miles of the project.
So, yeah.
And then in terms of the timing, I think Erika was also inquiring how much advance notice from when the construction project would begin would businesses and residents expect to receive a notification about, that it's coming, it's starting, like that, those kinds of details?
I think it would be at least, at least three weeks, most likely, at least 3 weeks. We know right now that construction is most likely going to start in February, sometime in February. We're not able to determine the exact start date until we award the construction contract, which is can't be done sooner than the council meeting on January 19th. So assuming the contract and everything gets approved on council, shortly after that, we'll meet with our construction management team as well as the contractor, and then start getting a schedule together. Soon as that schedule start date is set, that's when we'll send out the flyer with all that information.
Okay, if I could just interject real quick. One of the reasons why I'm concerned about that is because, like I said, my business is on the corner of Main and Highland. And I have a tax business. My busiest season is February. So if you guys are gonna be beginning construction anywhere near my business, I need to know at least more than 3 weeks ahead of time. And I don't even know if I would believe that you're gonna tell me that much ahead of time, because we usually only get a week notice of these meetings. So what kind of, sorry, I have a crying baby in the background, but what kind of, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but I mean, what kind of I mean, what's the procedure for it? How do you guys, because I live like less than 500 feet from Main Street and I haven't received a single letter about any of the development. I've only gotten information because I reach out to y'all. So what's the process, or who is the person in charge of all of this, the marketing and the promoting for it, so that maybe we need to get in contact with them directly?
Hey, could I provide some information? This is William, city engineer.
Go ahead, William.
Hi. Just to kind of clarify what Michelle said and to hopefully answer Erica's concerns, the notification will be a direct flyer for all of the businesses and property owners that are directly fronting Main Street from the project limits, which is, I guess, first to Dyer. In addition, we will also notify residents that are 1 block off of Main Street that would most likely be impacted by some of the construction activities due to road closures or temporary closures. Erica, this project is going to be spread out over a year's time, and there are several phases to the project. The first phase will be a utility phase, and we will be contacting most of the folks that are impacted. Again, everyone along Main Street, and then 1 block in each direction. And as soon as we award the construction contract next week, we would know more information about the construction staging. Because the first phase is utilities, that phase is pretty much a slower moving phase because we actually have to excavate and we actually have to expose utilities, and it wouldn't be the entire roadway, it would just be portions of the roadway. But before we do that, I imagine that at least 2 weeks notice would be provided before you're impacted. And we would be notifying you several times during the construction because there's going to be different impacts throughout the construction. Again, there's a utility phase, and then there's going to be a paving phase, and then there's probably going to be some street furniture phase. And so there will be several phases that provide different kinds of impacts. So at this point, we can't provide any more detailed information, but between Michelle, Sean, Nabil, and myself, we will ensure that we're providing appropriate heads up notice to everyone being impacted.
William, since you're talking about the construction, the utilities, Sandra Pochaping is asking whether dark fiber will be laid while the Main Street trenches are open. Dark fiber meaning the high-speed fiber optics that's essential to providing a significant technology upgrade, since the Wi-Fi is not fast enough, in this area for tech-based businesses. And if you can address that.
Sean, I don't know any details about the project, but you might.
Yeah, so as of right now, that's not part of our scope, the scope of this project to add those fiber lines. That is something that we can look into. So if you on the next slide, there will be my contact information. Please reach out to me and we can just see the feasibility of doing something like that at this time while we're in there.
Just one thing I want to add is we do have a master plan that has coordination with some of the utility companies that do already carry fiber. And so we'd be happy to share that information. So if anyone that's interested gets in touch with Sean, we can coordinate providing the master plan and making that information available.
Sean, do you have any other updates on the construction? Because I'd like to go back to the questions that were submitted earlier that we haven't addressed.
No, that's all I have right now for construction. So we can go ahead and answer the rest of the questions.
Okay, so we have Carla Juarez, who had asked what protections are being put in place to help prevent gentrification and to protect business owners that are currently on Main Street. This ties well, I think, with Maria Rubalcaba's question earlier in terms of what kind of support will be provided to the businesses during the construction period so that they're not as impacted. So that was, I've sort of combined their questions.
Would that be a question that Sylvia from Community Development can answer?
Sure. In regards to the part about the business interruption, I think Sean did a great job of explaining how the notification was going to occur, and Public Works will be making efforts to ensure that entrances are not blocked for prolonged periods of time to minimize the impacts to those businesses. Regarding the question from Carla regarding what protections are being placed to prevent gentrification, let's start by just mentioning that this is a public improvement. It's not a true development project that would come with the concerns of gentrification. This is beautifying the street. This is sidewalk improvements, bulb outs. And these are all really put in place for the current business owners that are there and the current residents that are there to really beautify the space for them. Now, regarding what types of supports are available here in community development, we do work directly with business owners, and we have partner organizations that we work with to really help business owners when they are in need of assistance if they are having trouble with their business. We work very closely with the Small Business Development Center here in Santa Ana, the Southland EDC, and other organizations that could provide sometimes financial support, sometimes just guidance on what to do to help their business through such tough situations. And I'm more than happy to be a contact. I'm more than happy to speak with any business owner offline and give more information and work with you when you are facing those concerns.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Sylvia. There was another question from an anonymous attendee if shelters were going to be built for the homeless, because we have a big problem here in Santa Ana. The same participant is very excited about the project. This area definitely needs some TLC with regards to street racing mitigation. Will there be any additional coordination with PD to target some of the racing that takes place in this area and protect our community investments?
William, can you answer that?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Once the project is completed, we can continue with coordinating with police on providing better and more effective traffic enforcement. You know, the bulb outs are being constructed or added to this project for traffic safety. Hopefully those bulb outs will aid in pedestrians crossing Main Street and also slowing vehicles down on Main. But the next component that we need to coordinate with police is on enforcement. And so we've had discussions with police on enforcement, especially with some of the speeding and some of the intersection takeovers that we've seen in other locations of the city. So that's going to be an ongoing effort that is a layer to this project as soon as it's completed. So definitely it's something that we'll be focused on.
Thank you, William. And we have, there was just more of a comment from anonymous attendee about Santa Ana being very rich in history and culture, and if the project if this project is going to affect any of that. So I think we've heard a lot of voices tonight about making sure that the history and the culture is preserved and reflected in the design and all of that. So we get the sense that, you know, that is going to be a priority for members of the community as this project moves along. Thank you. Let's go back to the chat. We have some more comments on the chat. Erika Gonzalez stating that we need a community benefits agreements prior to hiring of construction companies. And she was clarifying the community benefit agreements would be between the residents, the organizers, and small businesses in the area. So we also have Jeannie Braden asking if did I miss the sugar factory? That location along the corridor. Irma Hadagi also added if it would be a great opportunity to see the benefit of dark fiber replanning that can be done. So I guess for William and Sean, that would be something that to revisit and try to incorporate maybe in a subsequent project or a subsequent focus in this area for that. Any comments on the community benefits agreement? I wanted to go back to that. William or Sean?
It's, well, let me start by just saying that that I think the next meeting we have with those that are directly impacted by this project will be with the construction management firm that we are hiring to manage all of the details and day-to-day activities of this project. And it'll also involve the construction contractor. Typically, we have not delivered public improvements using this other agreement that Erica mentioned, although it's a good idea. And maybe in the future, we can consider something like that. But this next meeting will be with the actual construction management firm and with the actual construction contractor. And staff's role in those meetings is to ensure that the contractor and construction manager are listening and hearing everything that the community is going to be concerned about. So that's going to be a very important subsequent meeting, which hopefully will address all of the concerns that the community has, including key concerns that Erica is bringing to the to light.
Okay, thank you. See, I just wanted to go back to Carla Juarez. Her response was in regards to Sylvia Vasquez's response. For that reason, owners should not increase rent for businesses that are being rented right now. Some owners will use this situation as an quote improvement and may increase the rents, but there are businesses on South Main that have already been priced out. Let's see, so she was just wanted to respond to that. And then Sandra Pochapena added how Santa Ana and Capistrano are two oldest and most historic OC cities. It's important that the architecture and the history is preserved. What kind of accommodation or plan is being made to identify and preserve architecturally significant buildings?
Planning.
Is Melanie with us tonight?
Yes, I'm right here if you'd like me to respond.
Hi, Melanie. If you can respond, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. One of the things that's been identified in our draft general plan is to look at the South Main focus area for historic value, look at the historic architecture, and do some analysis in that area. And that separate project, but that would be prior to any land use considerations for change in that area. So we're very mindful that the corridor has historic value, and we've heard loud and clear that that's a big priority, especially from those in Henninger Park and other adjacent neighborhoods. So that's on the list of things to do, is to do an evaluation of historic structures and eventually create development and design standards to complement them and protect them as appropriate. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Melanie.
Sure.
Margarita, do we have a couple new messages?
We have more questions on the chat and more on the Q&A box, and then we have a hand raised. So BJ is asking if Google Maps will be updated regularly to help residents find the best route to avoid construction traffic.
Margarita, that is an excellent comment. I read it and I thought, wow, this is somebody that's really thinking outside the box, and it'll be helpful to us. We will be contacting Waze and Google Maps. I don't know how on the technical end things are handled, but we can surely contact them so that the automatic routing that they have programmed in accommodates the construction and doesn't send us with too much traffic flow in this area. Excellent.
Yes. Thank you, William. And then we have two more comments on the chat. Victor Payan, his comment is, even with the improvements, there is a dire lack of cultural and arts amenities for residents in the area. What is being done to increase arts and culture programming as part of this plan? His organization, Media Arts Santa Ana, MASA, is working on a smart walk, South Main art, retail, and technology, and a smart corridor. He's discussed this with South Main leaders and city officials. Who on the team should he contact regarding the smart walk, and when can you all meet? William?
This is Nabil.
Oh, Nabil. Go ahead, Nabil.
Yes. Anytime you want to reach out, we can meet and discuss your proposal here. I'm happy to discuss that with you. So just reach out to me and we can have that discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Nabil. So there you go, Victor. Nabil Sabas, the point of contact for that. And then Sandra Pocha Pena has entered. There's an important structure located just south of Warner, the old sugar factory. It was probably left out because staff wasn't aware of its existence. How will public art for the proposed plazas and promenades be selected? Will the art commission be involved? So that's another recommendation to consult with the Arts and Culture Commission. And it was mentioned earlier with the Historic Resources Commission. Nabil, did you want to respond to that? Or?
Again, the project here is infrastructure improvement of the Main Street right-of-way, which includes lights, bus stop furniture, those kind of things. And we're not touching on any private building or infrastructure that is outside of the right-of-way. I'm not sure how this project will impact that building.
Perhaps as Victor follows up, with you, Nabil, to do the smart walk, I think that's probably a separate conversation to have, since they're both heavily invested, in the arts and culture here in Santa Ana.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we're gonna go to the Q&A box. So Celica Diaz is asking if there's a plan to add additional parking spaces in front of the businesses along South Main Street.
So I can answer that question. So we're not adding additional parking spaces, but we are organizing the parking better. So wherever there's available parking, the parking is kind of dictated by the geometry of the street. So if there's space for parking, there will be parking. And there most likely is parking right now. Now the parking along Main Street is kind of just open. There's no delineation or no marks identifying or suggesting where cars should park. This project will add those kind of marks to hopefully better organize parking and in turn create more parking along the street.
Okay, thanks, Sean. We have Raleigh asking if there will be any compensation for loss of businesses or any impacts to businesses.
Sylvia from Community Development, is that an item that you could assist with?
At the moment, there is no compensation that I'm aware of that is planned for any loss of businesses. However, if your business is seeing some sort of business interruption, please feel free to reach out to me. We, like I said, work with organizations that can provide you with the resources for grants or for financial assistance here at the city. We do on occasion have grants available. With the COVID pandemic. We have had a few grants already, but feel free to reach out to me so I could provide any type of financial support that we know of that's available.
And I want to add to that, Sylvia, that this project, just to remind everyone, this project, it's not going to be much different than any other construction that's going on throughout the city. We will always maintain access to businesses. We'll work closely with the businesses and provide several contact points of contact to work through any issues that comes up. So you'll have the number of the inspector, you'll have my phone number, you'll have our construction manager's phone number. Make sure that we minimize any impacts as much as possible. It's not like a project where, for example, the streetcar where we're putting in this rail system or whatnot. Nothing like that is happening. It's just our typical construction. It's just the project is so long that the project is pretty large, but the impacts, I believe the impacts to the businesses will be minimized. It won't be as bad as you may be thinking. We will, again, maintain access at all times.
So we have, Maria Rubalcaba she's asking if the city has consulted with local residents, small business owners, or local organizations in regards to the needs of that area for purposes of active transportation and mobility, as well as what they believe which street improvements are needed most.
Yes, I mean, as we kind of went over on the slides, there were several community outreach meetings, and those meetings led to kind of the product that we have right now. So we did take input from the community, and we are trying to create a very complete project here with walkability and safety improvements.
Okay, and I skipped some comments. Let me go back to the Q&A. Victor Payan, it is important that South Main Corridor residents and homeowners are key to decision-making to create a corridor that serves them and does not prioritize the wants of absentee property owners and interests outside of the South Main Corridor. So it's a statement by Victor. Lisandro has a question about trees. Has a specific type of tree or trees been selected for areas that will get new street trees?
Yes, specific trees are included in the plan, in the landscape plan. Lisandro, if you can route to me, my contact information is on the screen. I can provide you with more details as far as what those are. I just don't know that off the top of my head right now.
Thank you. And then Irma Hadagi, although this might not be in the plan, the roundabout at Wilshire and Sycamore needs to be addressed, finished, might be done during that time, during the time of the construction project. That's Irma Hadagi's question.
Irma, we can look into that. As you said, it's not part of the current plan right now, but we can definitely look into that. Thank you.
Okay, and then there was just some more comments regarding the art components, how it's part of the built environment. And that's why the question was asked to Nabil and staff. In the Main Street plan, staff has posted online, it shows several new plazas. The plan also refers to permanent public art. This is all within the built environment serviced by Public Works. So that's.
So I think the answer to these questions is that, the South Main Corridor vision plan is not that the intention is for it, all of it not to be implemented with this project. This is kind of like the first step where we're putting in some of the infrastructure improvements. We will continue to, work with the community, our different agencies, planning and community development agency to figure out some programming that will lend itself to the cultural and artistic aspects that you're talking about. So in short, I mean, it's, this is just the beginning. There's more to come. This isn't the end all be all project here. This is just the, the initial infrastructure that we're putting in.
So I now wanted to turn to Erika Gonzalez. I think she wants to, she has some follow-up questions. Her comment on the Q&A box is that the answer is unexpected. We've been voicing concerns about displacement for years, if not now, when. So Erika, maybe you can clarify some of that. Go ahead, Erika.
Okay, yes. Yeah, because the answer was just simply unacceptable. The fact that you guys are not even going to consider giving us community benefit agreements when we've been asking you for years. We've been asking since when you guys started the gentrification process in downtown Santa Ana. You're saying that this is not gentrification of Main Street, but I don't know if you guys are clear on the definition of gentrification, because gentrification is when more affluent class comes in to a lower class area and they raise the cost of living. That's exactly what's going to happen on Main Street if you do not come into community benefit agreements with the existing residents. You need to not only contact business owners, but you need to contact the people who work on Main Street, because not all of them are business owners. And like Carla was saying, A lot of those people who rent in Main Street, they don't own the buildings that they're renting. Like, I don't own my building. At any point in time, the person who owns my building can come and tell me and my mom that we need to be gone in 3 months. That's happened to me before in Santa Ana. We used to be on a location on Grovemont Square over on 17th and Fairview. Same thing happened there. Under new management, we had a month to get out. So my big concern here is that we are paying you to do a job and you're not doing the job we are asking you to do. I have nothing against my city being beautiful. I want a beautiful city. I want to raise my children in a beautiful city, but not at the expense of the people who are already living here. Because what's going to happen is you guys are going to bring luxury apartments, which we've already seen on your plan. You guys are going to bring art galleries. You're going to bring bars. You want to extend the nightlife that's in downtown Santa Ana to the Main Street corridor by beautifying it, which is all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, we're going to be affected because we live here. You guys don't live in the city. You work for the city. The city residents are telling you what you want, what we want. And it's a slap in the face when you say you're not going to come into an agreement with us, because that's ridiculous. That's simply unacceptable. And as a businesswoman, that's just bad business. Terrible customer service. Because at the end of the day, bottom line, we pay you for what you do, for your service. We're paying you to do this job for us. So for goodness sakes, listen to us, because if you guys don't listen, we're going to have to start taking other means of making you listen. Just like when Northgate decided to gentrify the location in 4th Street, we already have a petition to boycott Northgate, and we've gotten almost 400 signatures in 3 weeks. So if you guys think we don't have the power to organize against what you're doing, you have another thing coming, because we are very organized. Santa Ana has very deep activist roots. You guys are going to see those roots if you do not listen to the community. Listen to us. What's the point of you having these meetings if you're not going to listen to the input that we're giving you? Carla's on these meetings every time I am. I've been on these meetings multiple times. So please stop giving us the runaround. Be straightforward and just cut the bullshit.
Okay.
This is William. Erica, I apologize for misunderstanding your question. I thought that this community benefits agreement was on how to deliver the public improvements that are designed and are about to be awarded. So I guess what you're talking about is a bigger picture, higher level issue. Right now, Sean is in charge and he's the project manager to deliver this 2.5 mile long public improvements within the street right away. And again, we will do everything possible to coordinate the construction activities to minimize the impacts to businesses and residents that live close to Main Street. And so I sense your frustration, and I think that the question is probably a higher level type question that the city as a whole needs to answer. Thanks.
Thank you, William. So we have a comment or a question from anonymous attendee. Will Cubbon Street be replaced near Aurora's Chorizo, that location there? How the street's really rough.
So yeah, Cubbon Street, since the project is along Main Street, at the intersections, maybe about 20, 30 feet on either side of Main Street will be replaced with this project. So I'm not exactly familiar with where Aurora Chorizo is, but if it's right near the intersection, most likely it will get a pavement treatment if the pavement is in bad shape, and it sounds like it is.
And then Carla Juarez is asking, have you all taken a survey on how many businesses are occupied by landlord and how many are rented spaces along the South Main corridor?
I can answer that. No, we haven't, because really the focus of the project, again, is the street itself and the public right-of-way, the sidewalks, the street lights, street signals, and so forth, and water and sewer. We're not impacting, in terms of construction, the businesses or the residents.
Okay, Nabil, thank you. We have Esther Navarro. Will bus services be rerouted? And this in terms of the construction period for this project?
Yeah, Esther, so during construction, we will work with OCTA closely and reroute any bus services as necessary. So I don't think that is determined at this point, but we will work with OCTA and we'll notify the public if that's going to be the case with with the typical noticing involved in rerouting bus services.
Okay, so we're going to go to the chat. So Alyssa Ventura has posted Sylvia Vasquez's contact information and ADDELE Saba's contact information. And then we have several comments from Brittany, Carla, Belen, Maria Rubalcaba. They all agree with Erika Gonzalez and her comments earlier. And then Brittany was saying, you guys do not care about the residents that have been living here for generations. 100% agreed, listen to the community. Sandra Pochapena shared that nobody visits Paris to see the banks. I hope staff sees public art and cultural programming as an important driver for the economy. We're located between Disneyland and the best beaches in SoCal. We need to provide a quality experience rooted in local history. Look at the cultural experience San Juan Capistrano provides with their built environment. We need to see the value of this for both residents and visitors. Larry also agrees with Erica, and he also shared that downtown Santa Ana is going to be a nightmare in 10 years with 2 lane streets over a century old. I didn't capture the last part of Larry's comment. Let's see. Maria Rubalcaba, yes, Pocha, Tustin and Orange have so much more of an old timely feel than Santa Ana. Unfortunately, that has been lost through all the development over the years. Carla responding to Nabil, yes, you're impacting businesses and residents to consider changing your view on the impact your work does in our community. Belen sharing a comment, if you say gentrification is not happening, you're clearly blind because the gentrification card has been well played in this project because it's affecting the Latin community and not just them, but it's also affecting small businesses. Oh, and Larry just clarified, and developments cropping up in downtown Santa Ana are going to choke the 2-lane streets, no parks, no parking, all concrete. Haley shared, as a resident, thank you for working to enhance the area and incorporate human-oriented design. Let's see, and we have Janelle Hardy who just posted on the Q&A box. Community benefits agreement, can we get more information about that? Can it help to reinforce the residents' wants and needs?
I think anyone that's interested in that can reach out to me. I'm not, I don't think that's necessarily in the public works realm, but we can, if you reach out to me, we can get it to the right department and they can see what they can do.
Okay, so we have 2 more comments on the chat. Team. So we have Victor Payan who's sharing, I've heard numerous residents state that they do not want downtown Santa Ana style development, bars and adult nightlife. Let this be a guiding principle of South Main. Make South Main more family oriented since much of Santa Ana's population is under 21. The crime and trash from downtown Santa Ana gentrification is not something we want for South Main. And Sandra Pochapena has shared that community benefit agreements are important. So that's going to be a follow-up. I mean, I envision that that is something that, Nabil and probably, others on the council will probably get more feedback from some of the folks who are on this call about that.
Sure.
Okay, so we have this information. Is there anything else, Michelle?
I do not see any other questions or chats. Sean, did you want to continue with the project contact information?
Sure. So let me get back to this. Oops. Okay, so I really want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy lives to participate in this presentation tonight. It is so important to keep our community informed, so we are very happy that you all could make it. For project information and updates, please visit the South Main Corridor website. For any contacts or concerns regarding the project, feel free to reach out to Michelle or myself using the contact information on this slide. So that pretty much wraps up my presentation. And
there are two chats, Margarita.
Okay. Thank you. So Janelle is just emphasizing, yes, I agree, more family-oriented, please, and arts and culture to be incorporated into this project. Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. We really appreciate everyone reporting public work issues, whether they're trees, graffiti, potholes, sewer, water, illegal dumping, graffiti. And to report a public work issue, you can call our dispatch at 714-647-3380. Or you can email our dispatch at pwadispatch@santa-ana.org. Or you can go online to the city's website, and on the homepage, there's a blue ribbon that's titled Report an Issue, and you just click on that blue ribbon and you can report the issue, again, whether it's illegal dumping, graffiti, a sidewalk that needs repair. Or if you have a smartphone, such as a iPhone or Android, you can download the free My Santa Ana app. And it's so easy. All you need to do is open the app, take a picture, and send it to report it.
So Michelle, I just wanted to, there was one of the attendees early on was asking about the issues with like a homeless encampment in the area, or reporting graffiti, that this is the option to report those concerns.
Absolutely. You can report any type of issue through the My Santa Ana app. You can certainly call our dispatch and we'll assist with that report. And also, please, subscribe to the City of Santa Ana Nixle, or, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just so you can be in the know of what's happening in the community and to receive the insights on any upcoming meetings or construction activity. And then Marguerite, did you have any closing thoughts?
No, just so that we're all clear. So the follow-up, there will be a follow-up meeting that Public Works will share a little bit more details on the construction. That's what I heard William say, and also Sean during the presentation?
Yes, so that will take place towards the end of February, and that meeting will be focused on the construction coordination for this project. So we're, like William and Nabil said, we will be introducing the construction management firm that we're hiring, and also the contractor and other key staff that will be involved throughout construction.
Okay, so perhaps maybe for some of the attendees who were just really want to revisit some of their suggestions to incorporate kind of larger objectives into the project. I mean, whatever the follow-up is should happen soon, right? So that we're not here a month from now, just hearing it, but at least there was that opportunity to have, whether it was that walk tour or just some broader discussions about impacts, or outreach to the local businesses and neighbors in the area of the project, something like that.
Yeah, as I said, feel free to reach out to me directly after the meeting, and via email would be best. And then I can then do my best to answer those questions, or refer you to the right people to answer those questions, or take your input and see what we can do to implement that.
All right. Okay. So Michelle, I don't see anything else on the chat or on the Q&A box.
Margarita, can I add that the plans and the specifications for this project are available to the public? And so as soon as we have that first construction meeting, that information can be available to anyone, and you can actually look at the tree species or specifically what kind of furniture has been specified for the project. And then if there are any concerns, then Sean can work to see if there's any changes, revisions, modifications that can be made.
Okay, thank you, William.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending tonight. Have a great night and stay safe.
One last thing, this is Nabil. I'd like to just thank everyone that participated in this. I know that this is a big project for us. It's something that the city is undertaking. It's an $18 million project, one of our biggest CIP capital improvement projects. We are looking forward as a public works agency for this project for many years. We are going to improve on many facets of the street, South Main, from First to Dyer Road by including quite a bit of work on the sewer system, the water system. We're installing lights. We are renewing the bus shelters and many other things in addition to the focus areas. And I am positive that the community would like the improvement and would love the improvement coming in. Main Street needs quite a bit of work. I drive it often. I know where the major problems is, and I believe that this project will enhance the drivability and the feel of this project, and looking forward for it. If you have any questions, concerns, again, the information is there. I am available to meet with you, talk with you, email me. And again, my name is Nabil Saba, Director of Public Works, City of Santa Ana. I am happy that you joined us. Thank you and have a good night.
Okay, thank you everyone. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it a night for this meeting. And as a reminder, the recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel. So if you want to review or share with others who were not available to make it, it will be posted probably tonight or tomorrow morning at the very latest. Okay, and with that, have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.